The Life and Sad Ending of John Denver. John Denver was born Henry John Deutschendorf Jr. on December 31, 1943, in Roswell, New Mexico. As the eldest son of a family shaped by a stern father who could not show his love for his children. Because Denver's father was in the military and his family moved often, it was difficult for him to make friends and fit in with other children of his own age. Constantly being the new kid was troubling for the introverted Denver, and he grew up always feeling as though he should be somewhere else, but never knowing where that right place was. While the family was stationed at Davis-Monthan AFB in Tucson, Arizona, Denver was a member of the Tucson, Arizona Boys Chorus for 2 years. Denver was happy living in Tucson, but his father was then transferred to Maxwell AFB in Montgomery, Alabama, where Denver disliked the racism of his segregated school. His life has gone through 2 marriages. Denver's first marriage was to Annie Martell of St. Peter, Minnesota. She was the subject of his hit Annie's Song, which he composed in only 10 minutes as he sat on a Colorado ski lift after the couple had had an argument. Denver married Australian actress Cassandra Delaney in 1988 after a 2-year courtship. Settling at Denver's home in Aspen, the couple had a daughter, Jessie Bell. Denver and Delaney separated in 1991 and divorced in 1993. Of his second marriage, Denver later recalled that before our short-lived marriage ended in divorce, she managed to make a fool of me from one end of the valley to the other. The story of this talented guy's career begins to be told as follows. At the age of 11, Denver received an acoustic guitar from his grandmother. He learned to play well enough to perform at local clubs by the time he was in college. Denver attended Texas Tech University in Lubbock and sang in a folk music group called the Alpine Trio while pursuing architectural studies. He was also a member of the Delta Tau Delta fraternity. Denver dropped out of the Texas Tech School of Engineering in 1963 and moved to Los Angeles, where he sang in folk clubs. In 1965, Denver joined the Mitchell Trio, replacing founder Chad Mitchell. After more personnel changes, the trio later became known as Denver, Boise, and Johnson. In 1969, Denver abandoned the band life to pursue a solo career and released his first album for RCA Records, Rhymes and Reasons. 2 years prior, Denver had made a self-produced demo recording of some of the songs he played at his concerts. He included in the demo a song he had written called Babe, I Hate to Go, later renamed Leaving on a Jet Plane. Denver made several copies and gave them out as presents for Christmas. Producer Milt Okun, who produced records for the Mitchell Trio and the high-profile folk group Peter, Paul, and Mary, had become Denver's producer as well. Okun brought the unreleased Jet Plane song to Peter, Paul and Mary. Their version of the song hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Denver's composition also made it to the UK number 2 spots in February 1970, having also made number 1 on the US Cash Box chart in December 1969. In the 1970s, Denver's on-stage appearance included long blonde hair and granny glasses. His embroidered shirts emblazoned with images commonly associated with the American West were created by the designer and applique artist Anna Zapp. Denver recorded 2 more albums in 1970, Take Me to Tomorrow and Whose Garden Was This?, including a mix of songs he had written and cover versions of other artists' compositions. His next album, Poems, Prayers and Promises, was a breakthrough for him in the U.S., thanks in part to the single Take Me Home, Country Roads, which went to number 2 on the Billboard charts despite the first pressings of the track being distorted. In 1972, Denver scored his first top 10 album with Rocky Mountain High, with its title track reaching the top 10 in 1973. In 1974 and 1975, Denver experienced an impressive chart dominance, with a string of 4 number 1 songs: Sunshine on My Shoulders, Annie's Song, Thank God I Am a Country Boy, and I Am Sorry, and 3 #1 album. Denver was also a guest star on The Muppet Show, the beginning of the lifelong friendship between Denver and Jim Henson that spawned 2 Christmas television specials with the Muppets. He also tried acting, appearing in the Colorado Cattle Caper episode of the McCloud television movie in February 1974. He starred in the 1977 film Oh, God! Opposite George Burns. Denver hosted the Grammy Awards 5 times in 1970 and in 1980 and guest hosted The Tonight Show on multiple occasions. In 1975, Denver was awarded the Country Music Association's Entertainer of the Year award. At the ceremony, the outgoing Entertainer of the Year, Charlie Rich, presented the award to his successor after he set fire to the envelope containing the official notification of the award. From 1973 to at least 1979, Denver annually performed at the yearly fundraising picnic for the Aspen Camp School for the Deaf, raising half of the camp's annual operating budget. During the Aspen Valley Hospital's $1.7 million capital campaign in 1979, Denver was the largest single donor. In 1985, Denver asked to participate in the singing of We Are the World, but he was turned down. According to Ken Cragen, the reason Denver was turned down was that many people felt his image would hurt the credibility of the song as a pop-rock anthem. In 1994, he published his autobiography, Take Me Home, in which he candidly spoke of his cannabis, LSD, and cocaine use, his marital infidelities, and his history of domestic violence. In 1996, he was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. In early 1997, Denver filmed an episode for the Nature series, centering on the natural wonders that inspired many of his best-loved songs. His last song, Yellowstone, Coming Home, which he composed while rafting along the Colorado River with his son and young daughter, is included. In the summer of 1997, shortly before his death, Denver recorded a children's train album for Sony Wonder, titled All Aboard. This was produced by longtime friend Roger Nichols. The album consisted of old-fashioned swing, big band, folk, bluegrass, and gospel styles of music woven into a theme of railroad songs. This album won a posthumous Best Musical Album for Children Grammy for Denver, which was his only Grammy. In 1993, Denver pleaded guilty to a drunken driving charge and was placed on probation. In August 1994, while still on probation, he was again charged with misdemeanor driving under the influence after crashing his Porsche into a tree in Aspen. Beyond music, Denver's artistic interests included painting, but because of his limiting schedule he pursued photography, saying once, "Photography is a way to communicate a feeling." Denver was also an avid skier and golfer, but his principal interest was in flying. His love of flying was second only to his love of music. In 1974, he bought a Learjet to fly himself to concerts. He was a collector of vintage biplanes and owned a Crescent Eagle aerobatic plane, 2 Cessna 210 airplanes, and in 1997 an experimental, amateur-built Rutan Long EZ. An avid pilot, Denver died at the age of 53 in a single fatality crash while piloting his recently purchased light plane. All his dedication goes with the years of the fans.